Hey everyone, thank you for being here with me tonight. If you're a mom, or if you've ever been abandoned when you needed someone the most, this story is going to hit you hard. I'm going to tell it exactly as it happened, no rushing. Grab a blanket, maybe a cup of tea, because this one is emotional, long, and very real. Let's begin. It was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. I had just given birth to our daughter Lily after a long and difficult labor. I was exhausted, sore, but completely in love as I held her tiny body against my chest. My husband, Ryan, was standing beside the hospital bed, phone in hand, texting someone. I thought he was telling family the good news. I smiled weakly and said, "She's perfect, isn't she?" He looked at me, no smile, and said the words that still echo in my head every single day. "I can't do this. You're better off alone. I'm leaving." I thought I misheard him. Was holding our newborn still connected to monitors, and he was telling me he was leaving. I whispered, "Ryan, what are you talking about?" He put his phone in his pocket, looked at Lily for maybe 2 seconds, and said, "I'm not ready to be a father. You'll be fine without me. You always are." Then he walked out of the hospital room. Just like that, no kiss. No goodbye to his daughter. No explanation. He left me there with our baby, a bag of dirty clothes, and a heart that felt like it had been ripped out. The nurses found me crying so hard I couldn't breathe. They had to call my sister to come pick me up because I had no one else. When she arrived, I was still in the hospital gown, holding Lily, staring at the door like he might walk back in. He never did. That was day one of the hardest chapter of my life. The first few months were pure survival. I had no savings because Ryan had controlled all the money. I had to move back into my sister's tiny apartment. I was breastfeeding Lily every 2 hours, barely sleeping, and crying every time I looked at her beautiful face because she looked just like him. I kept thinking, how could he leave her? How could he leave us? The pain was so heavy. Some days I couldn't get out of bed, but I had to because she needed me. I went back to work after 6 weeks as a waitress at a small cafe. I'd bring Lily in a carrier and breastfeed her in the back room during breaks. Customers would see me and some would smile, some would look away awkwardly. I felt ashamed, like I had failed as a wife and now as a mother. At night, when Lily finally slept, I would sit on the bathroom floor and cry quietly so my sister wouldn't hear me. One night, when Lily was about 4 months old, I got a text from Ryan. It said, "I'm sorry, I wasn't ready. Can we talk?" My heart jumped. I replied immediately. He never answered. That was the last time I heard from him for 5 years. I made a promise to myself that night. I would never let Lily feel the pain I was feeling. I would be everything she needed. So I started rebuilding, piece by piece. I went back to school part-time while working full-time. I took online courses in business and marketing at night after Lily went to sleep. I started a small side hustle, selling handmade baby clothes and accessories on Etsy. At first, it was just $50 a month, then $200, then $800. Every sale felt like a victory. Every late night stitching fabric while Lily slept next to me felt like love. When Lily turned 2, I opened my own small online store. I named it Lily's Light because she was the light that kept me going through the darkest time. I worked so hard that year, I barely slept. But slowly, things started changing. Orders increased. I hired my first helper, a single mom like me. We moved into our own little apartment. I bought Lily her first real bed. For the first time in years, I felt like I was breathing again. Lily grew up strong, kind, and incredibly smart. She never asked about her father until she was 6 years old. One day she came home from school and said, "Mommy, why don't I have a daddy like the other kids?" My heart broke all over again. I sat her down and told her the truth in the gentlest way I could. Your daddy wasn't ready to be a daddy. But that's not your fault. You are so loved, and you are enough. She nodded, hugged me, and said, "I have the best mommy in the world. That's enough for me." I cried that night after she fell asleep, but they were proud tears. The years passed. My business grew into a successful brand. I had a small team, a beautiful home, and a life I built with my own hands. I dated a little, but nothing serious until I met Alex, a kind, steady man who loved both me and Lily from the very first day. He never tried to replace her father. He just showed up every single day. Then, when Lily was 7 years old, everything changed. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon. We were at the park for her soccer game. I was sitting on the sidelines with Alex when Lily came running over, eyes wide. "Mommy, there's a man over there staring at me. He looks like the pictures you showed me." My stomach dropped. I turned around slowly. It was Ryan. He looked older, thinner, tired. His eyes were locked on Lily. He took a few steps closer, then stopped. His face went completely pale. He froze. Lily looked up at me, confused. "Mommy, is that him?" I nodded. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. He took another step and said in a broken voice, "Lily, I'm your dad." Lily stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something I will never forget. She stepped behind me, held my hand tightly, and said calmly, "I already have a daddy. His name is Alex. He was there when I learned to ride a bike. He was there when I was scared of the dark. You weren't." Ryan's face crumpled. He looked at me, tears streaming down his cheeks, and dropped to his knees right there on the grass in front of everyone. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I was young and stupid and scared. I missed everything. I missed her first steps, her first words, her everything. Please, let me be part of her life. I'm begging you." The whole park went quiet. Parents were staring. Lily squeezed my hand tighter. I looked down at the man who once left me broken in a hospital room. The man who called me worthless without him. The man who abandoned his own daughter. I felt no anger, no hate, just peace. I helped him up gently and said, "Ryan, I forgive you. Not for you, for me. I don't carry that pain anymore." Lily has a father who has been there every single day. You can't undo the past. But if you want to try to be better now, that's your choice, not mine. He nodded, crying openly. He looked at Lily one more time and whispered, "I'm proud of you. I'm so sorry I wasn't there." Then he walked away. Lily looked up at me and said, "Mommy, are you okay?" I smiled, hugged her tight, and said, "I'm more than okay. Baby, I'm free." That day, I realized something powerful. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to destroy him. I had already won the moment I chose to rise instead of stay broken. The real victory wasn't making him beg. It was becoming the woman and mother I always wanted to be. Today, Lily is 9 years old. She's happy, confident, and knows exactly how loved she is. My business is thriving. Alex and I are married and expecting our second child. I still run workshops for women who have been abandoned or betrayed, teaching them that their worth was never in someone else's hands. Ryan sends a message on Lily's birthday every year. I let her decide if she wants to reply. Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. That's her choice now. If you're watching this and you're in pain right now, if someone left you when you needed them most, if someone called you worthless, if you're raising a child alone, please hear me. You are not worthless. You're not broken. You're not alone. Your comeback doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply becoming the best version of yourself and living a life so full that when they finally see it, they freeze. Thank you for listening to my story all the way to the end. If this touched you, please leave a comment. Tell me your story. Tell me you're still here fighting. I read every single one. You've got this. You're stronger than you know, and you are never, ever alone.